Thank you very much, Miss Murray. Well, good afternoon, everybody. The performance is happening today, and I'm excited for all of you. So, without any further ado, would you please put your hands together for Miss Mahalia?
Soul music is rooted in gospel. The Queen of Gospel, Mahalia Jackson, was born on October 26, 1911 in New Orleans, Louisiana. Early on, Jackson sang gospel at the Plymouth Rock Baptist Church, where her father was a preacher. She was thoroughly influenced by both jazz and blues, but gravitated towards gospel music, singing hymns and old-time gospel music around the house. At 16, she moved to Chicago and joined the Greater Salem Baptist Church, and began touring with the Johnson Gospel Singers. Jackson collaborated with the father of gospel music, Thomas Dorsey, recorded with Duke Ellington, packed Carnegie Hall in New York City, and had a radio show. Jackson's style blended the freedom and power of the gospel with the stricter atmosphere of the Baptist Church. Her powerful contralto voice pronounced the civil rights movement in the 1950s and 1960s, as she sang for many fundraising efforts. She even sang on the Old Slave Spiritual before Martin Luther King's famous I Have a Dream speech at the March on Washington in 1963. With the power of her music, Mahalia Jackson has influenced countless other singers, including Lauryn Hill and R&B royalty Mary J. Blige. And now please welcome Janae Robinson, Instead of Venus, Mahalia Jackson, and the band performing Joyful, Joyful, and Real Love.
God of glory, Next up, we will have a fashion show by Miss Melissa. Next up is part one of Mr. Fly's monologue.
Give the kids another round of applause. That sounds really wonderful, but you know, I want to say that this being our last show, you can definitely, somewhere the principal's around this thing, that fly's got his mask off again. One more time, give another big round of applause. That's what you need. This presentation that you're going to see right now was put together strongly, I want to say by myself, but then I would be telling a lie. Because I gotta tell you, your classmates are absolutely talented and wonderful and very, very creative. You know, we were thinking about Black history. We want to talk about something that was important to us. You know, as a culture, as a generation, as a people. The word that kept coming up was the word freedom. Raise your hand if you believe in freedom. Thank you. For those of us who really understand the idea of freedom, I think to us freedom means to be able to have the option and the choices to do some of the things that you want to do, to be able to go to some of the places you want to go. If I think back through history, I look at these signs that said words like colored only. I look at places where people of color couldn't go to school and neighborhoods that people of color couldn't be in. And to me, that didn't exactly say freedom. So today we're celebrating the idea that because of our ancestors and because those of us who came before us were able to do the things they were able to do and create the voting laws that happened back in the day, that we actually now have a form of freedom, but we need more. So without any further ado, this presentation comes from the wonderful kids and students of mine from my theatrical monologue class. Please put your hands together for their presentation, simply entitled Freedom.
should not stand during the national anthem.
2020, COVID-19 spreads across the planet, killing thousands and disproportionately affecting Black, Asian, and minority ethnic people.
2021, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden prime minister, becomes the first female U.S. vice president and the first African American to hold office.
Kayla Hernandez.
I saw your performance up there. How was it? Was it unnerving? How'd you feel?
I was nervous at first because, it's the first show that I do. So I was pretty nervous, but I think once we got it over with, it was more calming.
So how was it like being up there, talking to the crowd and speaking those words, it was really inspiring.
It was definitely nervous. I was definitely nervous because it's not something I usually do. I'm very to myself. So being on a stage or in front of a bunch of people.
When Mr. Fly came to you for that position, were you excited about it or?
I was kind of nervous. I didn't really want to do it, but then I was like, okay, fine. It's my senior year. Why not?
Moving the mics around was pretty fun. You gotta make sure you're on top of that, because if the mics aren't on during the performing, then how are they gonna hear them?
How stressful was it back there? I want to know.
Not that stressful. It's just really move 4 mics around, make sure they're on and off and charged.
Are you guys organized? How many of you are there?
I think 6. There's 6 of us back there. There's 3 in charge of the mics and some people in charge of the people performing.
And I just want to show others that your story, you can use it as an inspiration, and that's why I chose to speak about that moment, so I can show others that even though there are teachers like that, if you just work hard, you can prove them wrong, and then you can accomplish many things, so that you can not say go back flash in the face, but you can look back and say, oh, I proved this person wrong. They're wrong about me.
Next up, a dance from Ms. Green's cheerleaders.
kings and queens, I'm still holding on.
2016 was the year where I realized that deportation can take away my parents. It was scary for a fourth grade team of worrying about racism. But whites were the ones who did this. Why are they afraid of us when they are the oppressors?
In the late 70s in Wichita, Kansas, my mother woke up to a burning cross and a casket on her front yard with the words, "Get out, niggers."
In the 10th grade, I had a teacher who told me I was going to be nothing and do nothing in my life just because I'm black. However, I'm about to graduate from high school and I've been accepted to 6 colleges.
Celebrate in heart, whatever told you are good, you are loved. We are the future, with so much more to come. We are the future, we have only just begun. We are you, and you, and you, and you. Together we stand, our power is your power. We are free, we are one, we are holding on.
Vincetta Freeman, she's one of the singers that was at the performance. We just finished our first one. How do you feel?
I feel pretty good about it, and it's one of the smoothest ones we've had so far for our first performance, and not even having a steady rehearsal with everyone. It was pretty good.
Were you nervous at all? Like anxious?
Very, because I'm stage manager this year, so I was running around trying to make sure everything was okay while also making sure I was ready. So it was scary, but I feel like we pulled it off very good nicely.
That's good.
Schurter was born on August 25th, 1933 in Newark, New Jersey. Schurter is considered to be one of modern jazz's most influential saxophonists. Schurter moved to New York City after high school and received a degree in music education from New York University. Here, he frustrated his music teachers because of his mixing of different music composition styles.
Schurter joined Art Bakey's Jazz Messengers in 1959. Then from 1964 to 1970, he played with Miles Davis's second grade quintet. Schurter is known for his complex and endlessly winding tunes. On soprano, Schurter aimed to create lyrical thoughts. While America was immersed in the struggle for civil rights, Wayne Schurter wrote Footprints. This piece appeared on his 1966 album, Adam's Album. Footprints incorporates an African-based cross rhythm and switches between simple and compound time.
And now, please welcome Isaac Williamson on drums, Diego Moreno on bass, Christian on the bass and on guitar, Mr. Will Mack on piano, and Matthew Sam on tenor saxophone, performing Footprints. I want to introduce those guys one more time. That was Isaac Williamson on drums, Diego Moreno on bass guitar, Christian Oropeza, I call him Tahim, on guitar, and that was Matthew Say, featured on tenor saxophone. Representing Yeah. You know, you guys are getting better, but you know, there's better ahead of us as well. But I thank you once again for giving these young men and women applause, because it means everything to them. It really, really does. So thanks for putting yourself out. I know you just want to sit down and relax, but we got to give when we go out. And speaking of giving, John Lewis was a civil rights icon. John Lewis grew up in a small town, not very far from the small town where I was born and grew up. I grew up in Greenville, Alabama. And John Lewis spent a lot of time growing up outside of Luverne, Alabama. And the world, his immediate world, was such that he couldn't do a lot of things he wanted to do. He was mistreated, as you're about to see, but he made some choices. Instead of finding a place and a space to be comfortable and get away from the fray, he chose to be a part of the fray to try and make a difference for others. This piece was put together by a fantastic student of mine. Now, we're representing African American heritage, but this particular student is actually from Ethiopia and has been living in America most of her life. It had come to my attention that at Foshay, we also have a lot of staff members who are from Africa, but not necessarily what we would say is African American. And so when we have Black History Month, in many instances, we recognize people who are African Americans and African American citizens, but sometimes we don't necessarily recognize people from Africa living in America. I would like to make that recognition right now. And with that in mind, I would like to also challenge all of us to make a difference in our immediate lives. If there's something that you would like to see better, use your voice. A lot of us complain, and I gotta tell you something. When you complain, you can spend the rest of your life being a complainer. And that will get you nowhere but being a complainer. I said this earlier today, and I want to say it right here with you guys. When I was teaching 6th grade, one of the first things I would say to my students, I would ask a question. How many of you are going to be great in your lives? How many of you are going to change the world? And I've yet to have a class that Everyone didn't raise their hand and say, I'm going to change the world. If you're going to change the world, you got to be willing to change the room you're in first. And usually that's the most difficult part. Changing the situation that you're in right now. Here at Foshay, 3751 South Harbor Boulevard, I've been coming here over 30 years. If I leave here tomorrow, there'll be no place I'll ever go where I will go more than I have come right here. This is a place where everybody can make a difference. If you're 12, 10, 13, 14, 15, 16, John Lewis made a difference. EIL Halmariam has made a difference. The last 2 years during Zoom, the African American Heritage Celebration, she labored tirelessly to put so much of those products together. Latino Heritage Month, she labored tirelessly to put together fantastic presentations. Women's History Month, she labored tirelessly to put together fantastic presentations while we were learning remotely. And today, she's being represented again with this piece on John Lewis and his activism, his choosing to make a difference when it seems like everybody else wants to be comfortable. When it seems like the right thing to do is to do nothing because that's what everybody else is doing. He made a choice about his life and how he wasn't going to go out. The work of EIL Halmariam, our tribute to John Lewis and civil rights icons. I hope you enjoy it.
Since taking office in 1987, John Lewis represents Georgia's 5th congressional district in the House of Representatives. But his influence on American life starts much earlier than that. John Lewis was born on February 21st, 1940, to parents who were sharecroppers in Alabama. Lewis attended segregated public schools and looked to the Montgomery bus boycotts and Dr. Martin Luther King as forms of inspiration for his activism. At Fisk University in Nashville, Tennessee, Lewis organized lunch-sitting demonstrations against racial segregation, which came to be known as the Nashville Sit-ins. And in 1961, he participated in the Freedom Rides. This is when he and other activists rode together in buses through the South to challenge the lack of a Supreme Court ruling that deemed segregation on public buses unconstitutional. Lewis, like many others, was arrested for his participation. John Lewis was also attacked. He was hit in the face and kicked in the ribs, but even this violence did little to deter him. In 1963, he becomes the youngest person to speak at the March on Washington. He helped to organize this event as the chairman of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, a group formed by activists who organized sit-ins and boycotts to protest segregation. In 2013, Lewis co-authored a graphic novel trilogy titled March about the civil rights movement. This gained him the National Book Award. And in 2011, President Barack Obama awarded Lewis the Presidential Medal of Freedom for his contributions to advocacy and activism. This past Monday would have been John Lewis's 82nd birthday. Unfortunately, Lewis passed away from pancreatic cancer in 2020, but his legacy still lives on.
Thank you, EIL. Let's give a round of applause to EIL Halmariam. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the president of the Black Student Union, our own iconic activist, Miss Aja Owens.
Hi, Foshay family. BSU, Black Student Union, is a club ran by students to help uplift Black student voices, and our goal is to promote unity and beneficial change on campus because unfortunately racism is a thing on campus and it's projected on Black students here at Foshay. That's why we created this video and I wrote the poem called What About Us Foshay? To give the raw truth and reality of how it feels to be a black student at Foshay. And I don't apologize for how blunt I was, or am now. Of course our club is called Black Student Union, and even though I can only speak from a black person's perspective, I'm here to advocate for not only black students, but all Foshay students, because the majority of us are minorities, and we go through the same things, Racism and homophobia can happen to any of you, no matter if you're black or not. That's why it's important for you to speak up when it happens and educate yourselves, because silence is violence. If there's no respect, there's no love. Thank you.
I am black.
What does that mean to you?
But you're not black.
Does it bother you?
Remember, we only kill black people.
Does my blackness hurt your spirit? Does the color of my skin make you afraid?
Yeah, we only kill black people, right? All the videos you see, anything like the video,
Don't you find it amusing?
Hey, please, man. Mama, I love you. Reese, I love you. Yeah, my kids, I love you. Okay.
You'd rather listen to our black jokes to entertain you, but what about our black struggle?
You want our rhythm, but not our blues.
What about our screaming pain of oppression that has followed us from generations of deep-rooted trauma?
Can you hear it? Can't you see it? It's right there in front of you. They are black and they matter. What does that mean to you? What about the innocent black people that are being murdered by the system that is supposed to protect us? Will they ever receive justice for their families? This everlasting pain? Does justice for us mean anything to you? What about our black people being targeted and killed by the police? Does that matter to you? Do we matter to you?
Like the flood problem is like a big dam, and like it finally broke because we're tired of being ignored and all the racism, the homophobia.
We are black students at Foshay. Do we matter to you? Does our culture amuse you? Why must you laugh at our hair?
Why must you laugh at the darkness of our skin?
Why must you degrade us as if we are inferior to you?
It makes it 10 times harder to succeed in such a terrible environment where you feel you are not loved by your community.
Aren't we all human?
Can you relate to how white America continues to imprison our fathers and brothers?
Everybody's too afraid to have this conversation about racism. But when are we going to be ready? The time is now.
Can you relate to your people being hunted and treated like animals?
It's because an injustice against one is an injustice against all of us.
Have you seen your people on TV and been told they were killed just because of the color of their skin?
Don't you think dealing with the stress and anxiety of becoming a statistic, just like our black brothers and sisters that are now buried 6 feet down, is enough? Will they ever rest in peace?
Have you ever wondered how it feels to be a black student at Foshay? Do you ever think about how uncomfortable and degraded we feel hearing slurs when walking in the hallway?
Do you want to know what it feels like? It's not the blissful feeling you get when you're rapping your favorite rap song and casually saying the N-word.
It's a cracking whip sinking into our flesh. It's like we're stuck in a loop, continuously being slapped in the face. It's like being trapped in a hole, helpless, because we can't escape the brutal truth of our blackness at school.
It scares me to have to go through this. No one should ever have to go through this, especially regarding the color of their skin.
Why do we continue to endure this in a place we're supposed to feel safe? Because we are black.
Can we all get along? Can we get along?
Being black is powerful. Being black is resilience.
Being black is beautiful. Being black is human. And if this made you uncomfortable, good. We've done our part.
People would one day grow up to see the racial discrimination that they face?
I really hope that they can see it one day. I really hope that it doesn't take for them to experience the racial discrimination for them to feel the full effects of it. So I hope that they can just open their eyes and their mind a little bit about it instead of feeling the effects when it affects them.
And then what was your favorite part out of all the performances?
For sure, Aja's poem because it was very deep and it was very emotional and it said what needed to be said at the climate at Foshay right now.
I'm very glad that she said I'm sorry, but I will be blunt. It's upfront, direct, because it's here, it's real. All right, thank you so much. Bye bye.
Turning
I'm here with Steve Corvera today. After watching the second performance, how do you feel?
I feel very touched, to be honest, but especially by Aja's video, because she talked about seeing your people suffer every day, and like I just felt like I could relate to that a lot, because it really hurts to see your people. You know, you've seen a lot of the Latinos in cages at the border. You see a lot of Latinos getting beat up by ICE and everything, and it just hurts me to see that. And I know that I can only speak from the perspective of a Latino, but I know that video just made me realize that we can't. I always kind of knew this, but it just made me like emphasize that even more, that black people and Latinos, we can't be fighting all the time. We have to be friends. We have to work together. We can't do what the white man wants us to do, which is fight each other and kill each other. We have to work through this together, because at the end of the day, as much as we hate it here, this is our country, and we have to make things right here. You know, we can't be screwed over systemically for any longer. I can't see that anymore. I really like seeing the performance of Lift Every Voice. I played it at the Super Bowl for the pregame show, and every time I hear it, just learning the history. I played it with Thomas Wilkins, and he really taught us the history of it. And every time I hear it, it makes me really happy to hear it, because I know that it's an anthem for me. It stands for anthem of hope, for anthem of peace, and it's just, I think overall this assembly was amazing. It was brilliant, and I'd like to see more of it.
Do you feel like the other students here understood that message, or would they continue to be the way they are? You know, because the way they address it, it's really like a lot of people disrespecting them.
It's difficult to say. Honestly, for me, the way I see it is, if we can get at least a few people to do it, then they'll spread that to other people, and then those people will keep spreading it. I know that is really difficult to say and really difficult to accept, but you can't change everybody. But everybody that you change, for me, is a win. And, you know, hopefully someday a lot of the people that were making fun of that video, for a lot of people that were not taking it serious, I hope that one day they wake up and they realize that what they do and what they say hurts people. And it's just, I really hope for a lot of the people that did see it and they really were touched by it and affected by it, that you know, they kind of spread the word and they fight for the change as well.
I hope everybody heard it, understood it, because it was very important. Even though the mic was a little messed up, but it was like a very important message to people of our color and everybody should understand and get like where she's leaning at and towards.
But I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to represent BSU. I'm happy to represent Black students at Foshay in my community, and yeah.
Do you believe that the audience during 4th understood the message that you relayed to them?
I believe so, because when I walked away, I got a pretty good applause. I heard like people whistling and stuff like that. So I hope the next period they really understand the message that, you know, we, the Black community, we're not treated right at all. Like, we were treated with no respect at school and like in the outside world, in the real world, you know. So me, as a person in the Black community and people that supports Black Lives Matter and stuff like that, I will do whatever I can to support and advocate for Black students at Foshay and Black people in general, you know?
Yeah, I really hope it changes. I know it's an issue. Like you said, walking down the hall, you hear the slurs. I hear it as well, and it's I don't understand how they can't, like, they don't feel wrong it coming out of their mouths.
Right. Sorry, I have fun. You have people, non-black people who just it's like a habit to them when it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be coming out of your mouth if you're not Black. Period. Point blank. If you're not from African descendants, that word should not be coming out of your mouth at all. It's totally disrespectful. And you can say you have Black friends, I have the N-word pass, whatever that is, because that's not a real thing. You can say whatever, that you grew around Black people and they're comfortable with you. No, that is unacceptable. You can say it outside of Foshay, but in Foshay, we do not want to hear that word. Period. Point blank.
Do you think people like got something from the performance at all because of the addressed racism at Foshay?
They had to have. If you didn't, that's a you thing. We can only go so far with addressing racism. There was a video, people talked about it, and it was continuous conversation throughout the performance. So if you didn't get it, I feel like it's a you problem, and that means you weren't paying attention and you don't see the problem. But if you see the problem and you address it and you understand what's going on, then you've received the message.
Thank you so much.
So, what was the whole process like being up there and having that experience?
Well, it was a fun experience, you know. The rehearsal was one thing, but you know, to be up there on stage was a lot of fun. You know, it was an honor to be a part of this, and I'm just glad that I got to do it with my peers. It was so much fun getting to know them and to work on this with them, and to go on stage and to see us really go well and do well. It paying off.
How did this opportunity come by? Like, was it Mr. Fly say to like get you up there?
Well, Mr. Fly, he pulled me out of third period, and he asked me, there's this thing coming up for my history month, and he wants to do a performance. He asked me if I wanted to do it, and I said yeah. And so, this was last week, so Tuesday he pulled me out, and then I'm going to work on it.
When I was up there, I heard like really powerful words from you. The teacher when he told you that in 10th grade, because you're black, that you wouldn't do anything. How does that, still?
Well, what's it called? It affected me because this is coming from my teacher, someone who's supposed to give me love and support me, and for them to come and just like try and put me down, it affected me a lot, and it just hurt me like mentally, physically. So as time went on, I just ignored what she said, and I said, so these are the kind of things that was trying to bring me down. So I actually tried to prove them wrong and show that I'm not what they think I am.
Yeah, it's hearing that you got 6 colleges. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And you're proving them wrong up there, giving us powerful words, and I see it every day. I'm proud.
Not only are our scholars fantastic, we want to take a moment to acknowledge their fantastic teachers and the work and effort that goes into creating a product like this. Of course, we heard and received the fabulous Mr. Womack. Give him his accolades. Thank Mrs. Musa for sharing with us the entire facility on Ethiopia. We have the Foshay with Ms. Green, as well as what about our monologue group coming out of Mr. Fly's class? Wasn't that fabulous? It always takes the team, and Mr. Womack's partner in crime is always going to be Mr. Pullman. Give him a hand, our music. We have an entire stage crew here. Our stage crew, wave to them. Just wave and still the love. I know I'm forgetting someone. I never do anything alone. I always need assistance. Come on, Miss Chang. Miss Chang, our assistant principal, responsible for our assembly today. Did I forget someone? Did I forget? Oh yes, my Sandra in the sound booth. The Sandra wave in the sound booth.
What is it about the Negro? I mean, every other group that came as an immigrant somehow, not easily, but somehow got around it. Is it just the fact that Negroes are black?
White America must see that no other ethnic group has been a slave on American soil. That is one thing that other immigrant groups have had to face. The other thing is that the color became a stigma. American society made the Negro's color a stigma. America freed the slaves in 1863 through the Emancipation Proclamation of Abraham Lincoln, but gave the slaves no land or nothing in reality, and as a matter of fact, to get started on. At the same time, America was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that there was a willingness to give the white peasants from Europe an economic base. And yet it refused to give its black peasants from Africa, who came here involuntarily in chains and had worked free for 244 years, any kind of economic base. And so emancipation for the Negro was really freedom to hunger. It was freedom to the winds and rains of heaven. It was freedom without food to eat or land to cultivate, and therefore it was freedom and famine at the same time. And when white Americans tell the Negro to lift himself by his own bootstraps, they don't look over the legacy of slavery and segregation. I believe we ought to do all we can and seek to lift ourselves by our own bootstraps, but it's a cruel jest to say to a bootless man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And many Negroes, by the thousands and millions, have been left bootless as a result of all of these years of oppression and as a result of a society that deliberately made his color a stigma and something worthless and degrading.